What's up, runners and triathletes? Coach Erinne here from Full Circle Coaching, and today we're going to talk about running strength. It's so essential to have a really strong, stable body and especially strong legs individually to become a strong runner. And strength is something that's often left out of a training program. So today we're going to go through total body strength from our big toes all the way up to our head. Just using the whole body specific to running and get strong. So the stronger your core, the better you're able to run, and you can actually get faster because your core is stronger. You can't really fire a cannon from a canoe. That's one of my favorite sayings. And the stronger each leg is individually, the more symmetrical you are, the less likely you're going to end up with an injury. So let's start. So you always want to start with a dynamic warm-up, and we have a video on this channel, YouTube channel, for that, so I'm not going to go through that. But you always want to remember your good posture. So your ears are over your shoulders over your hips are over your knees, and you want the weight of your body to be right in your midfoot. And notice that I don't have shoes on, okay? This is important. You want your feet to be doing as much of the work as possible to stabilize you, okay? And we're not gonna get into the shoe debate right now, but you wanna stay away from doing strength training in those big cushiony shoes. You wanna feel the ground. So I recommend all strength training be done barefooted or in Vibrams, those finger shoes, so that your body can do its best job in stabilizing you. Feeling the earth underneath it, it will do a better job than being up on a cushion with those big cushiony shoes. So we're gonna start with your feet. So barefoot, like I said, straight feet, making sure your weight is evenly distributed across your whole foot. So either side of your toes, your big toe, your pinky toe, and then your heel, and your whole foot kind of feeling the ground and holding all your weight. So we're gonna start with all toes up, all toes down. All toes up, all toes down, all toes up, all toes down. And the goal is to get your foot to actually tent off the ground. So you feel the muscles of the bottom of your feet firing, right? As you're pushing your toes down, and try to keep your toes as straight as possible as you do this. So 20 repetitions is a great place to start. And then when you get good with all toes down, all toes up, you're gonna switch to big toes down only and big toes up. So big toes down only, all your other toes splaying apart, big toes up. The big toe down is super important, and you notice my ankles are not rocking in and out, right? My foot is doing all the work, and your big toe is so essential for running in all sports that you're having forward propulsion, because you want to toe off on your big toe, and if it's not straight and strong, you're going to have problems actually up your leg, even your hamstring or your glutes. So big toes, big toe down, big toe up. Again, we'll talk about how many repetitions at the end. So the other thing is you want to make sure your toes are as far apart from each other as possible. And this could be addressed in the stretching section for running, which you'll see in another video. But just make sure your toes are not all curled up as you're doing these exercises. It's really important for your toes to be spread out and as long as possible. We're going to keep moving up the chain. So now we're going to start with your calves and your lower legs. So super duper important to have strong lower legs. So elbows bent in your running form, right? We're going to start with all your calf raises with your feet completely straight, okay? So a lot of people have their feet, turned out like this as a bad habit. So you always want to correct yourself and have your feet be perfectly straight, especially for run strength specific exercises. And we're going to start with just your feet straight, and we're going to do a couple reps, and I recommend 10 to 20 reps with your feet straight. Then you're going to do 10 to 20. And I'd like you to lift your toes up so your whole foot is getting strong. And then 10 to 20 reps, and then finally toes in. Notice my ankles are always aiming for my big toe. I'm always trying to line up my ankles over my big toes, as opposed to letting them splay out to the sides towards my pinky. The next progression is one-legged calf raises, right? So we're gonna do this from the front and the side, but because it's great to help you coordinate your arm swing with your foot strike. So my left foot is forward. I'm gonna keep my toes up to start. My right arm is forward. So one leg calf raise on the ground. Start with your either foot forward, toes up, and your opposite arm is also forward. And you're gonna swing through as you come up onto your big toe, right? So that's 1 rep. 2. And notice I'm swinging through as my arm swings through. My right leg and my left arm are swinging forward, and I'm coming up on my big toe. This is really, really important for making sure you're toeing off on your big toe when you run. And again, make sure you're doing the same amount on both sides. If you have an imbalance side to side, I'll tell you how to correct that at the end of the session. So again, you can add dumbbells, 2, 3, 4 pound dumbbells to add resistance to help you challenge the body a little bit more to get stronger. But get good at 3 times 20 reps for now. So one of the best calf exercises to really prevent a lot of Achilles tendonitis and plantar fasciitis is an eccentric lowering exercise. So instead of a calf raise, you're gonna actually raise both feet together, take 1 foot away, and slowly lower that other foot for about a 10-second count. So watch carefully. So I'm starting with my feet pretty close together. I'm lifting all the way up as high as I can with both feet. I'm gonna take 1 foot away, and I'm gonna count to 10 as I slowly lower this heel down. And that's the eccentric movement, and I'm going past flat. Now, to go back up, I'm using my other leg to help that foot so that it doesn't get too tired. These are really, really tiring. And I recommend about 10 on each leg. You can do 2 to 3 sets, but I would recommend doing these after you run, especially if you're having any kind of Achilles tendonitis issues or plantar fasciitis. It's a total game changer and can really make your calves like rock solid when it comes to running. And don't forget both feet, right? So tire 1 foot out, then switch legs, count to 10, really count to 10, go super duper slow. And this is the absorption when your foot lands. These are the muscles that are firing to help absorb the shock of your foot plant. So a great exercise. And then when you're finished, remember to just hold this stretch. This is called the 3-minute gravity drop. You want to hold this stretch for 3 whole minutes. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving up the chain, and so this lower leg needs to be really, really strong and stable. For a proper foot strike, you land midfoot, right? So this leg needs to be really, really strong from the knee down. So how you're gonna do it is you're gonna lie on your back, and you're gonna grab your thigh, and you're gonna do 40 circles in one direction. So in this case, to the right, 40 circles to the opposite direction, and then 40 point flex. And you will feel this in your shin. This is a great strength exercise to prevent shin splints and also just to help any lower leg issue you might have. Plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis. So this is a great exercise. And again, you wanna make sure you hit both legs. 40 circles right, 40 circles left, and 40 point flex, all on the same leg before switching legs. From here, we're gonna go for balance. So it's essential, running is essentially one-legged balance with movement, right? So you want to be able to balance on one leg. You can start with your hands on your hips and challenge yourself. So you can challenge yourself in a couple different ways, but the minimum that you need to be able to hold is about 45 seconds to a minute. And notice I'm stabilizing, my leg is moving, but I'm still able to handle the movement and remain on one leg. Now, how do you do a regression of that? You can use a dowel and then just barely hold on to the dowel or the foam roller until you get strong enough to go without it. So after you get good at balancing on one leg with your hands on your hips, you want to challenge yourself, right? So our body is designed to accomplish things quickly, and then we need to challenge it. We need stress to keep getting stronger. So you're going to challenge your one leg by standing on a cushion. Right? This is a lot harder, as you can see. I'm having to use a lot more of my core to stabilize myself. So that's one way to challenge your core. Another way is to hold onto a weight, like a kettlebell. So you're gonna balance on one leg and then switch the hand of the kettlebell, right? Or the weight or the dumbbell whatever it is. But I'm challenging my whole core in a different way, right? Swinging front to back, right? Passing the kettlebell around my body is a good one. I learned that from good friend Gwen Jorgensen, Olympic gold medalist in triathlon, right? So my leg is really firing on all cylinders with the added resistance. Another way you can challenge your balance is closing your eyes, right? So you can start with balancing on your leg, making sure your knee is bent, your core is engaged, get your balance, and then close your eyes. The goal is to try to get about 10 seconds if you can. And again, you can use that dowel if you need to. But those are all ways to make the progression more challenging so you keep getting stronger with your balance. Okay, so running man is one of my favorite strength exercises because it really allows you to notice if your arm swing is affecting your running form, right? So again, you want to get your balance in position and swing your arms as you would if you were running. Now ideally, you should be able to do this for at least 20 seconds, no problem. Swinging your arms quickly or slowly or with even more weight. These are little half-pound sticks that really help align your arm swing. So mix it up by going faster, slower, right? Or even heavier weights. But notice my core is stabilizing myself and I can really feel my lower leg working. So I want to engage my core more so that the whole body is doing the work. If I have an arm swing like this, I'm less likely to be able to stabilize myself. So this is a corrective movement just as much as it is a strength movement. So again, a minimum of 20 seconds on each side, a couple times through. So ankle bands are a great way to add resistance without having to go to the gym. You can use these around your ankles for this exercise, and some of the exercises you can put them around your knees, but the ankles is actually a little bit harder because it's farther away from the core. So red is not too hard. This is about a medium resistance, but they have all different colors. So you need to start with the resistance that's okay for you so that you can accomplish the goal, but you might need to go up or down depending on how many repetitions you can get. So we're gonna start with warming up the hip flexor and improving hip flexor strength. So again, we're gonna use the arm swing of running, right? To make sure our hip flexors are nice and strong and we're getting that knee up, right? So, 15, 20 reps. And then the same thing to the side. Just wanted to give you a visual, right? I'm pulling my knee straight up, warming up that hip flexor and getting more strength. Now from the side, I'm also gonna do my hamstring, right? Really get my hamstring stronger in the stabilizing standing position. Remember that good running posture, right? Practicing your arm swing. When I lift my leg, my opposite arm moves. So moving up the chain, it's really important to have strong glute medius. That is one of the most important exercises for running strength to help stabilize the hips with every foot strike. So being able to take 20 steps to the left, using your core. You should put your thumbs on your glutes back here and make sure they're firing. Sometimes you might need to touch back there to kind of turn them on, right? And make sure those feet are straight, right? And you're not leaning with your body to get the job done. This stays stationary and stable, and your leg, your hip, is doing all the work. About 20 footsteps back and forth. And then I like to go front and back. So with these, you can imagine your feet are on train tracks. So you're gonna run heel toe, making sure your feet stay at least a foot apart the whole time. Nice straight legs, meaning straight feet, not straight legs. Bent legs, but straight feet. About 20 steps out, and then toe back, toe, heel back in a straight line. Go ahead and check your feet. Make sure your toes are not turned out as you do this exercise. It's really, really important to have straight feet. Running planks are done with your elbows bent, and you want to make sure you're in line with your back of your head, your mid-back, and your tailbone. And you can use a dowel or a foam roller to make sure your posture is good. So elbows and toes, make sure your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. For now, you can challenge yourself, after you get strong by moving your elbows away. But to start, let's have straight arms. You can think about you're on your aero bars in your bike, even though this is a run specific video, right? So my goal is to challenge myself in my plank. It's great to be able to hold it for 5 minutes, but that doesn't really apply to any kind of sport, right? So this is called the 3D plank. So I'm going forward and back, moving forward and back, really engaging my quads, my glutes, as well as my abdominals. Side to side. Notice I'm not letting one hip drop on these. Rotationally, right? Imagine I'm on a skewer, my hip is dropping, but I'm staying straight. And then this is called a dolphin in yoga, but really focusing on drawing my belly button in as I go flat. So after you get strong with your plank, with your feet on the ground and your elbows on the ground, you can always regress if you need to and go on your knees, okay? So let me just show you that one real quick. So this would be the knee version of the same thing. But again, I want my hip and the back of my head and between my shoulder blades to all be in a straight line. And I can still do all those things that we did a minute ago, right? Forward and back, up and flat. That's a regression. So a more advanced plank would be if I lifted up one leg and then the other, right? So super straight legs, making sure my glutes are firing, my hips are extending, tapping out to the side, and even lifting one elbow off the ground and then the other, and then trying for both at the same time, opposite arm and leg, and even reaching out if you can. And when I'm doing these planks, I like to imagine I have a glass of red wine on my low back and I'm on a red carpet. So there can be no instability in my hips. They have to be stable, no matter that my arms and my legs are moving. Okay, side plank, super important. Every time you foot strike, if your obliques and your hips and your glute medius is not strong, you're gonna give away some energy and some power with every foot strike when you're running. So line up your knees with your hips, with your shoulders, okay? My feet are behind me, like 90 degrees. So we're gonna go up with my arm in the air, good posture, neutral spine, and we're gonna go up and down. This is a progressive. That feels easy. You can add opening your knees apart. But imagine that your hips are sliding up and down a pull. I'm not moving front or back. I'm going straight up and down, adding my top leg lift, okay? The next progression would be a straight leg on top, and I keep my arm up in the air just to keep my good posture. So here's the progression, and then bringing my knee into the chest. Really good posture. And then the next progression would be straight legs. So when you do a plank, make sure you're not on your shin. This is incorrect, okay? You wanna be on your foot, the side of your foot, so that your glutes fire, okay? This is really, really important. So this is what you'd start with, being able to hold this position for 45 seconds. Now you could do a hip tap to make it harder. Okay, so the next progression would be your top knee coming into your chest and imagining your foot striking with that midfoot. Notice my hips are not going up and down here. They're nice and strong. And then you don't want to forget about your adductor, right? The big muscle that's on the inside of your thigh. So you want to do this one as well. Just switch legs. Now the top leg is supporting me, okay? So again, I'm going to reach for the sky, use my core to lift up, and now my bottom knee is coming into my chest. Make sure you're super straight on this one. Don't let your butt go back behind you, and make sure your adductor is doing the work. This big muscle right there. Okay, 3D planks, right? So we're moving in all directions to make sure we're strong in all directions, even though running is all about forward motion. So reverse planks, we've gone face down, we've gone on our sides, and now we're gonna go on our back. So elbows are bent, feet are up in the air, toes are up, and your big toes, you wanna keep them as close together as possible. Okay, and then from here, squeeze the glutes and lift. This might be all you've got, right? If this is it, great. Try to hold it for a minute. If you wanna make it harder, you can tap, go up and down and tap, but make sure you're squeezing your glutes and your toes are not coming apart, okay? So the next progression would be lifting one foot up and then the other. Not letting your hips drop, right? Make sure you imagine that glass of red wine and your hips are not tilting side to side. You can also challenge yourself, side to side, up and down, and rotationally in this position. So it would look like this. We did the up and down, and then here would be side to side, and then rotationally. Trying to keep your feet as straight as possible. All right, you guys, squatting. One of the most important strength moves there is for any sport, and actually for life, right? So make sure when you're squatting, your feet are straight again. And when you come down, you still keep your posture, right? So I like to put my arms forward as I go down and try to have a vertical shin and a neutral spine. So let's talk about neutral spine. So that means not with an arched back, not with a tail tucked under, but right in the middle, right? Nice and tall, go down, and you make sure your feet are straight. And your knee, it's okay if your knee comes a little bit over your toes, but think about your big toe and your second toe, not out to the side, okay? So these are simple squats. How do you make it harder? Add a kettlebell, add some instability like an unstable foam mat. And of course, we're gonna go one-legged. So one leg squat. I'm gonna start on my left leg. Now again, you still wanna think about your posture here, okay? So I'm balancing on one leg. I've been practicing my balance, right? So now I'm gonna go all the way down and all the way up. All the way down and all the way up. All the way down and all the way up. So really focusing on your foot doing the work, right? Toes are apart. My leg is stable and strong. Making sure you hit the same amount on both legs and focus on the posture. So we want to avoid, this is what it should look like, right? And we want to avoid this. Not the same exercise. So you want to make sure you're bending your knee and going all the way down and all the way up. Okay, this is an advanced version of a one-leg squat where your opposite leg is back behind you. And it's a very difficult move, so you don't want to build up to it by doing all your other lunges. But I like to use my dowel to make sure my balance is really, really good. And my knee is staying right over my heel. And as I go down, I'm keeping my posture by lifting my arm over the hip. Now, as I get stronger, you can add a medicine ball or some weight and do the same thing. The really important thing is making sure your knee doesn't go forward of your heel. This is my more opportunistic leg, meaning I need a little work on this side. So work on getting as low as you can with this back leg and then driving up through the heel. We're gonna work on your good morning or your deadlift. So hamstrings are probably one of the most important muscles to make sure are strong for running. That's one of the most common injuries is a pulled hamstring, right? So again, feet about hip width apart, good posture. We're gonna hinge forward at the hips. Feel the stretch in the hamstring, a nice neutral neck, meaning I'm not looking up here, right? And then pushing the ground down as I come up and squeeze the glutes tightly. Refrain from pushing the hips past neutral, okay? So this is a body weight, good morning or deadlift, right? Using both legs. When you get good at both legs, and you can add a little weight with the medicine ball, with a kettlebell, or on a spongy surface, right? You're ready for some one-legged. One leg, good morning. So same idea, but it's hard to keep your hips even on this exercise. So you might need to hold on to something, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate without anything, right? So I'm gonna balance on my right leg, pick my back leg up, and come all the way back up. So this is a one leg good morning, one leg deadlift. From the side, I'm gonna switch legs. You can I feel the stretch up at the top of my hamstring. Good posture, I'm bending my knee and pushing my foot down into the ground. So again, I can make these harder by using a kettlebell or a medicine ball. Okay, so this is a way to keep your posture good and your foot in the right position. By using the foam roller, I'm keeping my right toes down to make sure my back is as flat as possible. Good morning, Miami. How beautiful is that? Pretty awesome, right? What's up, you guys? Today's topic is quick note about pain. So pain is our friend. Pain is our teacher, right? But if you ignore the pain, it can actually cause you a lot of harm in the long run, right? Hey, funky lady, how are you? So a couple of my athletes came to me today saying they were in excruciating pain, but yet I had heard nothing about this over the last few weeks. So any niggle or any little pain is just a signal to you that you need to become aware of what's going on. So I have kind of a rule of thumb. If the pain is above a 5, you stop whatever you're doing. You do not continue. It's running, swimming, biking, whatever it is. If the pain is under a 5, stop. Assess the situation, stretch a little bit, massage a little bit, little cross friction massage. See if it's just some muscles that are tight or adhesing to each other, adhesions that you need to work out, and a little stretching, and then you can continue on your run or your ride, but maybe lower the intensity, right? If you have the pain and your body's talking to you and you completely ignore it and you keep pushing through, you keep adding volume, you keep doing your sprints, you're gonna get injured, right? So there's a mechanism in our body they're called endorphins, and serotonin gets released when you exercise. And after 5 to 10 minutes, you start to reduce the pain feeling. Even if you had pain initially, the more you exercise, the more your brain perceives, oh, I have to do this. She's asking me to do this, so I need to complete the job. And so your body will actually mask the pain that you might be feeling. So if you have pain in the middle of a 30 to 45 or hour and a half workout, it's kind of a big deal, because usually your body's covering those symptoms of pain with endorphins. So let pain be your teacher and listen to it sooner rather than later, so that it doesn't become this chronic thing. I mean, we all have our goals. We have our races coming up. We have those dates on the calendar. And when you get pain and then you get an injury, you're set back. Then you have to take the time to rehab and strengthen and stretch and do all that stuff. So stop before it gets too bad, right? So a rule of thumb, 5 or less, assess the situation, decide if it's a good idea to go on or not. And then, there's so many ways to recover from painful situations. I have a great blog, or you can go to my YouTube channel and watch about my recovery, my ice